I'm just starting to decorate for Christmas, and I thought it would be fun to paint some ornaments. The reflections, the twinkling lights, the beautiful colors, they're always a fun moment to capture. Now, no matter where you're seeing this, you're getting a full-length video, but my patrons will be getting 3 more ornament lessons. So if you want to fill your easel with holiday cheer, head on over to Patreon and join my little family for only $5 a month. I would love to have you. Now, let's get dusty. Of my papers taped up here for my Christmas ornaments, and I'm going to be trying out 4 papers that I have never ever used before. I got these in a sample order from Dakota Pastels, and it's really nice. You can order a sample pack of paper from them. They all come about this size. This is about 5 by 7. And it's totally random. You can't ask for anything. Well, at least I should say I don't think you can. I never have asked for anything specific, but they just send you a stack of different papers, all different kinds that are for pastel. So these are the 4 that I'm going to try out today. I've never used any of them. So this is Pastel Matte from Clairefontaine. This is Pastel Premier. This one is Canson Mitance Touch. And then this is also Clairefontaine. This is Pastel Grain. So the usual paper that I use is UArt 400 or 500, and sometimes I'll use Lux Archival. And just feeling these, I would say that this one feels the closest to the UArt that I'm used to. But I have learned that just because a paper feels a certain way, it doesn't always perform the way that you think it will. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. I'm excited. All right, so I have my 4 photos, and each one of these is obviously a different photo. I'm going to start with this one in this first lesson and then just work my way through for this holiday month. Being samples, I wasn't really super able to find the colors of paper that I wanted to use, at least in these papers. There were some more neutrals or like tans and beiges, but they're papers I already have, so I wanted to try something new. So I thought the yellow would be a nice background color for that photo. This one, if it were up to me, this one I would be painting on a lighter surface, but I think I can make this work. This one, I was actually going to do like a dark burgundy underpainting. And I still might cover this somewhat, we'll see. And then this one, I thought, because this was a cooler blue or cooler gray, I'm probably going to do more of a blue underpainting on this one. But I thought this would work okay. So the only one I'm not really in love with is this one. And it's not necessarily that I don't like the color. It's not really what I would choose for this particular painting, but I think I can make it work. All right, so I've pulled out a few of my Rembrandts for a little bit of an underpainting. Now, since I'm underpainting on yellow, these colors aren't going to look the same way they do on white or sanded paper. I'm also not 100% sure how well, these Rembrandts are going to act on this paper. So it's a little too brown. I wanted a kind of a dark violet color. This might be too purple. Let's see here. All right, let me try this. So this is actually a Mungyo, which is not a pastel I use that often. All right away I'm noticing these horizontal lines on the paper. I'm going to assume that is from just kind of the handling process of creating samples. But if anyone has experience with this paper, if this is kind of a normal thing, please let us know. All right, so far I'm liking the coverage and how the paper feels. And I'm gonna do a light pink over here. The paper definitely feels creamier than the UArt. It feels a little smoother. So we'll see how that impacts the layers that we're able to get. Okay. I'm gonna come in with, this is a dark, kind of a little bit of a cooler green. I'm just gonna drop a few strokes on top of this purple. I don't want to completely cover it, but just kind of blocking in where the tree is. All right, this is a little brighter shade. It's still that nice cool green. And these two greens that I've used so far, these are my what are these? These are the Jack Richardson hand rolled. Really liking how they're applying. They feel super creamy. And this is another Jack Richardson. This is definitely in like a warmer green. And we do have a little bit of warmer greens on these branches that are a little closer to us. The ones further in the back stay nice and cool. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of block in my ornaments. So we have the star of the show is right here, this big red one. So this red is this is a Mount Vision, and I absolutely love their red collection. They have some absolutely stunning reds. I'm gonna do my best to make this look like a circle. If you're really picky, if you want, you can use, you know, put something circular on your paper and draw a circle. And then we have the little crown. I know it looks like an apple right now. We'll fix it. And then back here, there's another one that's very snowflakey or starbursty. I'm just gonna put a few lines in for now, just so I don't forget to put it in. It's definitely blurred out, so we're gonna have to do a little work, you know, with making it look blurry. And then we do have, looks like we have another ornament kind of peeking through around there. There's another one in the back. And I'm doing these in a little bit of a more pink tone of red, because I want this front one to really be the standout. All right, so I'm just gonna work on giving our ornament a little dimension. So coming in with a darker red now. It's not quite dark enough. All right, so this is a blue earth. This is really dark. But if you look at the photo, this ornament is almost completely black, or, you know, it's very, very dark on the side. Around the bottom. That same pink I used for these other ornaments, but because it's going onto the red, it makes it look like a little bit of a brighter red. For our highlight, I'm gonna try this. Yeah, this is a light peach color. And then this light yellow is gonna be my absolute brightest highlight on this. Now I know it's a little softer looking in our photo, but we don't have to follow everything exactly like the photo. We can have a little fun with our art. All right, so I'm gonna come back up to our little cap here. This is another Mungyo. I'm just gonna put just a few light little details, just some dots and lines, just to kind of give it a little bit of life. I'm not putting the hook or the strings in yet. Those details are too small to worry about right now. If I come back with that same light yellow on this side. So you want to keep the reflections in the line. Right now, this is a dark purple that I used over here. No, it's similar, but it's not the same one. So I'm just bringing just a little bit of purple marks into my ornament, just to kind of tie that whole idea together of that darkness being in there. All right, so let's come back to our branches here. So I'm gonna go back to my really dark purpley brown that I used on the ornament. And I'm just gonna bring this stem and this one. These are the only two stems that are like in the front and are in focus. There is one in the back here. I'm just gonna do very, very lightly. And then when we do the back side, we'll blur that out a little bit. Okay, so I've got a little bit of a darker violet now, just for in this inner area here, where we do have a bit more darkness. Just wanna bring that back in. And I'm also gonna touch these two stems just a little bit with that violet. All right, now I'm back to my warm green. I'm just dragging just a little bit of marks. These aren't the finished marks yet, but they're kind of breaking up that stem and giving me a foundation for my actual little needles that I'm gonna put on. And then we do have kind of a branch facing us. Right, back to my darkest cool green. Just very lightly, and I'm using my pastel as a blending tool here. Just gently softening those dark marks that I put in earlier. Bring some of this down here. I'm just making sure I'm getting all the way up to my tape with my color, because these are really small pieces of paper, you know? I want to maximize them. All right, so it's starting to look a little bit like a Christmas tree. All right, let's try this one. This one might be a little too light, but you can always come in and throw some dark marks in here. And I'm just barely touching the paper. This is a very, very soft pastel. This feels like a blue earth. And I'm just gonna drag just the tiniest hint of this color back here. Alright, now I think this is a Terry Ludwig, or might be a Great American. This is a little darker than our, it's kind of in between our darkest two greens. So, yeah, I'm just gonna add some more dark kind of needles in here. Alright, so let's start working on this guy in the back. This is a Rembrandt. I'm gonna see, I don't have a lot of layers over here yet, so I'm just kind of curious, see how buildable the Rembrandts are on this paper. Because they're on the harder side, they tend not to be, they tend to build layers a little better than the softer pastels. Yes, I switched to my left hand. I can paint not as well with my left hand for sure, but I still enjoy trying once in a while. Okay, I think that's looking nice and blurry, which is how we want it. We don't want it real vivid. So bringing back this same bright orange I used for the cap here, I'm just gonna put a few marks in here to kind of represent the shape. I know it's definitely got a darker spot in the center. I'm gonna go back to my darkest brown. I'm gonna put that in, but then I'm just gonna blur it right back out. I don't want it to look like a flower either. Okay, so that was a very, very soft pastel, and now this one doesn't want to go over it very well. All right, I'm gonna come back with my lightest yellow, and I'm gonna carve some kind of like sky holes back in here. I'm just adding a little bit of this yellow over that pink. All right, so now I'm going to use my little rubber or foam tube, and I'm gonna pull some of these marks outwards. It's really subtle, especially since this is already pretty blurry, but it's giving more of a blur now. This paper really holds on to the pastel quite well. All right, I'm gonna try something I might regret. I'm gonna come in with a fluorescent on this ornament. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm gonna brighten these ones up just a hair as well. And back in with my little foamy guy. Because these ones are not in focus. So I'm very, very softly just blurring the outer edge is really where I'm trying to get the most blur on these. I'm just adding an extra one down here just for a little balance. I'm not in love with this shadow. I'm gonna try a brighter blue. Yeah, that's giving me the effect that I want. It's a little blue and red make purple. And dark violet is a really nice shadow color, but I wasn't really getting it because the way the violet and the red were interacting was kind of getting rid of that, the purple, you know, it was just wasn't quite right. So I do like how this blue is interacting with my red. All right, so I'm gonna soften this up a smidge. Just the smidgiest of smidges. All right, so now I'm gonna put my strings in. They're a little bit, you know, they're not perfectly like straight lines. So I'm just gonna use, this is that Mungio again. And just gonna bring a line down just to start with. And this is kind of a braided cord. So making it a little thicker. Now it is bringing some of that green forward, which is fine. I will cool that down. So we have one on this guy. We do have, this looks like tinsel. I don't know, do you guys put tinsel on your trees? We did when I was a kid, but not so much anymore. I don't really do it on my adult trees. All right, so this is a NuPastel, and I'm just gonna kind of drag it in this cord to make it a little warmer. So like I said, they picked up a little bit of that green. All right, this is just a soft brown. Adding, yeah, it's kind of, looks like it's a twisted cord, so just getting a little bit of that in there. Being very, very light-handed with this too. All right, now I'm gonna do a little bit more work with my needles. So I've pulled out 3 NuPastels. This is a purplish blue, it's a really dark green, and this is a really dark blue. I'm gonna start with the green. And I'm just gonna kind of fill in, but again, I'm not trying to go too crazy with, you know, making a million needles. I just want to fill these out a little so they're not quite as, they feel like they're kind of just floating there. Now I'm gonna go in with the purple. So this is just gonna bring a little extra life to our tree, to our scene overall. Just a little more interest. Little fun sparkly bits for the eyes. All right, and then this dark navy. So the use of the dark and the light also adds dimension, because you're going to have some needles that are being highlighted by the lights that are shining, and then you're going to have some that are deeper in that are darker, and those are going to be this more this navy color. All right, I'm gonna go back to my little foamy guy, and I'm just gonna soften these up just the slightest. I'm just kind of tapping at them. I'm not really dragging. I'm just trying to soften them just the slightest to help with a little bit of that depth perception, that they're a little further in the back. All right, so this paper is not really reacting to the tapping, so I am dragging a bit, which is not my favorite, because when you drag, you kind of create a sense of motion, like motion blur, which we don't want because the tree's not moving. When I can just tap, it softens without adding that movement. So all right, let me soften up this string. All right, and then I just want to give just a hint more detail on these back ones, because even though they're blurry, they still are going to have bright spots and shadows, colors. Even our strings, because they're kind of that metallic material. I don't know what that metallic-y kind of string is. But even that has little highlights on it. All right, I'm gonna try just a slightly brighter yellow here too. All right, I think we're in a good spot for this. I throw my initials on it. And I hope you enjoyed this first one. The next video, we will work on the second ornament. So I'll see you there. Take care.